industry. The governor of the state of California, Gavin Newsom, who continues to play hardball with theme parks across the board as to whether or not they can reopen, and if so, how, and something we've covered, since July, when the state officially said they were going to be given reopening notice to the theme parks across the board, and week to week continued to say that they were going to. They're this close. It's about to happen. Don't you worry. We're going to share it with people. Oh, but wait a second. We're a step away. Oh, we're in dynamic conversations, and yet we're not. The state of California has played a ridiculous game here with the theme park industry, and at this point, I think we all, for the most part, feel it's a little political, and that's unfortunate in this situation because it doesn't make sense, and a lot of the being led by science discussion that continues to happen by the governor and by the health secretary for the state just seems to be so far off base when it comes to everything else in the state that's been allowed to reopen and given that nudge. Well, now we know that Disneyland theme parks, as we have covered on our Kingdom Report YouTube channel, Disneyland theme parks have been given a path, as well as all theme parks in California of a Disneyland size, to officially reopen once Orange County gets into the yellow tier, and that is a tier that is got some really unbelievable requirements in order to get to it, unless Governor Gavin Newsom sees another way in which to try and help the theme park industry out here. I would imagine that we're probably not going to see theme parks officially reopen until, number one, there's a vaccine that works, or number two, probably by next summer, and hopefully it will not be that long. But now we're in a situation where the governor continues to be asked about theme parks and the reopening guidelines and why they're so strict and what's happening, yada, 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 in press conferences. It now appears that the governor won't even mention Disneyland by name in the press conferences, and rather than even acknowledge Disneyland as sort of one of the biggest employers in his entire state that takes care of lots and lots of people and brings in tons of tax revenue, he won't even acknowledge Disneyland by name anymore and will just only refer to theme parks of size as the describer. I cannot get past how petty he has become on this whole theme park issue. Katrina and I, we talked about it about 2 weeks ago. There was such arrogance the last time he and the health secretary talked about this and talked about the subject, because they knew they were in control. They knew they were in power. They knew that nobody was going to tell them what to do in this situation. And I understand if it's all for health and safety, great, but we're in a situation now where things that are very similar in nature across the state have been allowed to reopen. And all theme parks is essentially a cluster of those things across the state in one place. Now, rides are a little different, I understand, but if you can't allow for a little bit of wiggle room for everything else to reopen, or the outside rides only to reopen, I don't understand what this whole holdup is and what this concern is. Disney has proven time and time again, across the gamut with all of their theme parks, they are their own study. There are no massive outbreaks. There are no spikes that come from these theme parks. They do a very good job trying to police it all, probably better than your own local Walmart, as we have seen. And yet, here he is now not even uttering the word Disneyland.
He's being really petty.
What is this?
What happened?
Who hurt you, Newsom?
Who did this to you? Who broke you? Were you
on?
Mad at Iger? Did you ask Iger for stocks or something and he said no, or a Club 33 membership or something and he said no, and then you just you know what? You're on my list. I'm going to ruin you.
Unbelievable.
Forever. And then and it's just kind of okay, and you're exactly right. It's there's shops, restaurants, everything in one location.
Right.
Why can't they just open at that point? And then just, okay, yeah, you can't do rides until you reach orange tier or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fine. But at least you're bringing back all these jobs for these people in the shops, and bring back entertainment and have people do he's being such a mean person.
It's not even just about Disney either. It's about all the surrounding businesses and everything. I guarantee you a majority of those small businesses are going to be going out.
He's being very short-sighted.
These hotels are probably being really hurt too. It's just really a sad, sad thing. And I went to a mall yesterday. I went to an indoor mall yesterday over by our house.
You did.
And if I can go to that mall, why can't we go into Disneyland? It just doesn't make really any sense to me anymore. I still think we need to be super safe, but as you were saying before, and I was just over in Florida, the theme parks are the safest I've felt like anywhere. I mean, I went to downtown Orlando while I was there, and it was kind of gross. There was like nobody wearing masks, and it was kind of bad, actually. It was not good. But then you go back to Disney and you feel this like safety bubble where they're being very cautious about a lot of things. I saw numerous cast members saying, please put your mask back up. Like even people just with the mask below their nose, like they were telling people put the mask above your nose and your mouth. And I said it in the beginning. I said, if Disney is going to enforce this stuff, they have to tell people you're going to leave if you don't comply. And that's exactly what they're doing. Right. And they're saying, get out if you're not going to do this.
There's signs
don't
everywhere.
Don't make your plans to come here if you can't comply with this. I love everything Disney's doing. They deserve to be open. It's really a crazy situation. I think Newsom, I think it's honestly pure ignorance. Yeah. I mean, I really do think that he just thinks it's some other type of thing. He probably hasn't been to a theme park since, some clown hurt him when he was a kid, and now he's just gonna hate on Disneyland. It's just really insane to me.
He sent people out to Disney World to look at this stuff, and I told in the last show or the couple shows ago, they went in trying to find problems. They didn't go in open-minded. They went in and had their little notebook and literally just closed-minded, writing everything that they could find wrong, instead of looking to see what they did that changed the theme park industry to make it safer, to make it better. And for him to do this is being very short-sighted, to ruin all these businesses around him. He wants Southern California to fail. I don't know why, but he literally wants everybody to be broke, homeless, and take over the freeways and just live in a tent. You should run against him and use that as a
is this what you want?
Yeah. This is what Newsom wants, and this is what I want. I want Disneyland to open.
Right. We understand.
Churros for all.
We understand how it sounds, right? Obviously, theme parks in general, they're not an essential business. They're not a necessity to get through life. But, this is a show where we talk about that sort of thing. And when it's affecting so many tens of thousands of people, in addition to the community around it and the area around it, there are so many businesses that have had to shut down because they solely rely on these theme parks to be reopened. And it just doesn't seem like there's been any real flexibility with the governor. It doesn't seem like there's been any consideration, really. And even in sending out, as Katrina had mentioned, sending out all of those hit squad members to Florida, gremlins,
horrible monsters.
What's odd about that is the Health and Human Services Secretary for the state of California said that they came back and had very nice things to say for the most part. And so he mentions this, right? And says, oh, well, things are good. And, it looks like they took some dramatic steps to make sure that nobody is going to walk away sick or infected. And so he had these really nice things to say. And then in the next breath said, and that's why we're going to make a theme park of this size only available to reopen with these really ridiculous standards that they probably aren't going to meet for about a year. Yeah.
Yeah.
1 out of every 100,000 people? Come
Unbelievable.
on.
Yeah, I just don't understand the political approach, because if the governor doesn't understand that this is sealing his fate, absolutely, and I think that he would be short-sighted not to imagine what the future is going to look like here, because you're about to see not only an entire theme park industry come together and bankroll some candidates against you the next time, most well-funded candidates against him, I'm willing to bet.
Iger. Come on, Iger.
You are going to be seeing, I think, a major showing of support for these organizations moving forward. I think things are about to get a little dicey. There's already been discussion about whether or not a lawsuit is going to happen. I know that there are some.
God, I hope so.
There are some lawmakers from the state who have already brought a lawsuit against the governor for abuse of emergency power in this regard. And this is something that a couple weeks ago we spoke about, and I kind of laid out that idea that he wasn't treating theme parks fairly. And with the emergency powers bestowed upon the governor in these sorts of situations, they can only use these powers because it's above their ability, right? So these powers should be in a legislative body, these rules. They can only use these powers if they're done fairly and appropriately across the board. we made a case before the guidelines were issued that he was not treating theme parks fairly. He was, in fact, putting them in a different category entirely that didn't even have a path to return. Well, now we're in a situation where he's given the guidance and basically said, yeah, good luck. We know there's no way you're going to get back to a place where you can open.
Yellow for piss off. That's what
right.
Oh, dang.
It's really unfortunate.
And it's really horrible, too, because these, like, tell me what the difference is besides okay, like a ride is like a moving bench, right? Like that's really what it is. What's the difference between opening Disneyland and opening a zoo? Like SeaWorld is even open at this point. It's just like, what? I don't understand. It makes zero sense. And when you're talking about a place like SeaWorld, it's literally like you walk up to a pane of glass and stand toe to toe with people and, you know, look at these animals. And how is that any different than what Disney would do? I mean, to me, it is different. It's worse, you know, like it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm like speechless about it. It's crazy.
Yeah. This idea of continuing to say like, oh, well, we're going to be stubborn about this and we're going to be led by science. It's like, well, but look around at all of the examples that they've already given you as to what they've been able to pull off and what they've been able to do. You haven't even given them the opportunity to showcase they can do it the right way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you have examples and you sent your people and you said they did a great job. So I just don't understand what this fight is about.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you're leaving all these tens of thousands of people in limbo, and you have businesses shut down around the community and that rely on this to be open. And I get it. We don't need theme parks to function in life.
We don't need malls.
But damn it, if this isn't unfair.
Yeah, it just does. Like it would be one thing if everything was still closed. I'd be like, okay, you know, it's tough.
It'd be very different.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's tough, but this is what we're doing. But to just say that like basically everything can open except for Disney and Knott's and Universal, it makes zero sense, as we've already said a million times. But we're if you can't tell, we're fired up. It's like so. And I'm, you know, at this point, I'm not even being selfish about it. Yeah, I want to go back to a theme park, but I'm just worried about all the people that I know. That's really what I care about, and I'm worried about, you know, Anaheim being just just a shell of its former self. You know?
It's tragic to see that this continues to be what feels like a game. If you live in the state, especially if you live in the area, it feels like a game, and that's the most unfortunate thing out of all of this. Oh, maybe. Very disappointing to know that we're still in this situation where no flexibility has really been given, no opportunity has really been provided. You know, that Disney is now deciding to expand Downtown Disney. You know what? Open up both parks and expand Downtown Disney into both of them. Play hardball, play the game, and just say, well, it's all retail, you know, it's all dining, and that's it.
Yep.
And until you can officially reopen, just do that. It's time to play that game and, you know, get as ridiculous as they have become.
Here.
Because they're not being helpful at all. At any rate, what do you think? Leave it in the comment section down below. Is Disney being treated fairly in this situation? Are the theme parks of Disneyland being treated fairly? From our perspective, it doesn't seem that way. Maybe you have a different perspective.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.